Hello friends, we'll be discussing another illustration which will refer to issue of debentures for collateral security or as a collateral security. Now, when we speak about collateral security, we have already solved a sum or rather certain illustration which had certain case studies, basically 3 case studies which we dealt with. Similar on that pattern itself, we'll have certain illustration, rather one more illustration related to that concept itself, which is known as issue of debentures for collateral security or as a collateral security. Now, this word for and as a collateral security have been mentioned together because in this illustration, you will have certain situations like that itself. First priority may be given to issue of debentures as collateral security, and then the second priority will be given to issue of debentures as a collateral security. So both of these things will be covered in this specific video. Let's start with the case one. In this illustration, we'll have 4 cases based on this. So we'll start with the case one explanation first. Let's jot it down. Now, the case one details have been mentioned here. This refers to BLC Company Limited. They issued 20,000 7% debentures of rupees 100 each to procure a line or rather to procure a credit limit or a loan of 19 lakh rupees. The same was also repaid in the same year in which it was procured. This is additional information which has been mentioned here. Apart from this, the company also issued debentures amounting to 10 lakh rupees. Amounting to 10 lakh. They haven't mentioned how many number of debentures here. Now, which were paid off in the following format. That is, application they took around 20 rupees. Allotment on 70. And final on 10. That means we have a total of 100 rupees debenture value. So now you can figure out how many debentures have been issued here. They have mentioned that 500 debentures were defaulted on the final call if to pass the journal entries and the balance sheet as required here. So this is case 1. Let's go on to case 2 now. Now the second case that they're discussing about is Messrs. Epoxy Limited. Now the question states that Epoxy Limited earlier had a debenture value worth rupees 45 lakhs. That means this much of debenture they already had in their balance sheet. They further issued debentures worth rupees 6 lakhs to procure a loan worth rupees 4 lakhs here. Now, the company also states that apart from the issue that they already had, that means after issuing 6 lakh rupees or rather issuing 6 lakh debentures worth of rupees for a procurement of 4 lakh rupees. After this, the company also issued 5,000 10% debentures here of rupees 100 at rupees 120. Now, the calls were divided equally into 3 parts. That means application 40, allotment 40, and final call 40, which has been mentioned here. Subscription was received for 7,000 debentures, which was completely allotted. That means pro rata was done here. Now, out of that complete allotment which was done, They have also mentioned that 500 debentures didn't clear the allotment and the final call money, which has been clearly mentioned in this question. We have to pass the journal entries and balance sheet for the same. So this is case 2, pretty simple a little bit. Let's move on to case 3 now. Now, the case 3 details refers to Messrs. XZS Corporations. They issued 25,000 6% debentures of rupees 100 at rupees 95. That means this is a case of discount here. On application, they took around 30. On allotment, they took around 40. And on final, they took around 25 rupees. Subscription received here was for 24,000 debentures and the complete allotment was done. Mr. A, who had 700 debentures, failed on final call. And Mr. B, who had 800 debentures, failed on allotment and final call. This is the information that has been provided as of now. Now, the company took a loan of rupees 9 lakh in reference to or in lieu to an 11 lakh security, collateral security, which was placed in terms of debentures of rupees 100 here. Now, with all these details, we have to pass the journal entries and we have to also pass the balance sheet details here as mentioned in this question. Now, we'll go into the case 4 details of this illustration. Now, the case 4 details talks about Messrs. ABC Industries. They issued 4,011% debentures of rupees 100 each. Now, on application and final call, they took around 40 each. And on allotment, they took around 20 rupees. All these debentures were fully subscribed here. Now, the question also states that the company purchased an asset worth rupees 20 lakhs for which a loan was taken here. And as a collateral security, we offered 11% debentures of rupees 100 each, which would suffice the collateral security, or rather, which would be equivalent as a collateral security here. Now, we have to pass, or rather, we have to also make sure there are certain details added to this, which will be done right now. Now, there is one critical information mentioned in this illustration here. The asset cost was 20 lakhs. However, we have made the payment of 5 lakh in cash here. That means we are still supposed to pay only 15 lakh rupees. So we took a loan for 20 lakhs, or rather we can say that we took a loan for 15 lakh itself, and that was paid to the merchant. So the merchant area is completely clear here. Now, when the merchant area is completely clear, the only two parties left in this transaction is the bank and the company. So the company took a loan of 20 lakhs, or rather we can say 15 lakh itself. However, they had to issue debentures worth rupees 20 lakhs here as a collateral security. So the total payment that has been done is 5 lakh in cash and the loan of 15 lakhs. So merchant area has been completely cleared. We have to pass the journal entries and balance sheet related to this. Now that we have all the case details here for all the 4 cases that we're going to study, let's start with the journal entries of case 1 now. Now we've mentioned the format of the journal entries here. Let's start with the receipt application of debentures, or rather the first case study details. Now the question states that they procured a loan and they issued debentures here in the case 1. You can either pass the entry in the first instance, or you can go with the earlier normal ratio, or rather whatever we used to do earlier, that is transferring or rather taking the debenture applications of application, allotment and final call first, and then we can go ahead with this entry. Either of it that can be done, but we'll go in the chronological order. So we'll pass the repayment or rather loan procuring entry first. So the first entry that will be passed here will be debenture suspense account debit to 7% debentures. Now this total loan that was procured here was for 19 lakhs. However, we had to issue debentures worth rupees 20 lakhs. So we'll issue that specific transaction here. So the amount has been mentioned. Let's go ahead and figure out the narration here. Now, the question also states that the same amount was repaid at the end of the year, or rather in this year itself. That means we have to reverse this entry and we have to pass it again. That will refer to the loan entry being cleared off. Now, the same amount will be mentioned here with the reverse entry. Now, during the end of the year, they also mentioned that they issued certain debentures for normal subscription. So let's pass the entry for receipt of application money of those questions, or rather that specific part of the case 1. Now, the company has mentioned that they issued debentures worth rupees 10 lakhs and the amount was taken as application, allotment and final call, which total summed up to 100 rupees. That means 10 lakhs divided by 100 will give you total of 10,000 debentures being issued here. That is the number that you have procured. Now the application money will be for 10,000 because there is no oversubscription or undersubscription mentioned in this question. So let's pass that entry, whereby 10,000 debentures received entry has been passed. So here the amount will be 10,000 debentures multiplied by the application money. So 2 lakh is the amount that we have received on application. Let's mention the narration here. Now, the next entry will refer to transfer of this application money to debenture account. So let's move that entry. Entry has been passed, 7% debenture account has been credited and debenture application account has been debited. Amount will be the same, that is 2 lakh rupees. Let's mention the narration after the amount. Now that the application amount has been moved to debenture capital, it's time to mention the allotment entries, that is due and receipt. So let's mention that part now. So the fifth entry that will be passing here refers to allotment due. Let's mention that entry. Now on allotment, the company was taking 70 rupees. So we'll mention that 10,000 multiplied by 70. So allotment due entry has been passed, that is debenture allotment account debit to 7% debenture account, 7 lakh rupees has been mentioned. Let's go on to the receipt part. Now when it comes to receipt part, there are no calls in arrears here, so it will be a straight simple entry. Now, after the allotment entry has been passed, that is bank account debit to debenture allotment account 7 lakh rupees has been mentioned, it's time to mention the entries which are related to final call due. Now, on final call, they were taking around 10 rupees, so 10,000 multiplied by 10 will be the amount here. And the narration will be the receipt of, or rather due of, final call money. Now, the last entry that will be passing here refers to receipt of final call money. Let's pass that entry here. The company has also mentioned that 500 debentures defaulted on the final call money, so that is our calls in arrears. So we'll mention that in this receipt entry. So the amount that we have received in our bank account is 95,000, calls in arrears is 5,000, and the expected amount was 1 lakh. Let's mention the entry, or rather bank account has been mentioned, calls in arrears account has been debited, and final call amount has been credited here. So it's time to mention the narration. Once the journal entries has been completed, now we'll move on to the preparation of balance sheet. Let's start with that. So the balance sheet format has been prepared. We'll first mention the details of bank account here. Now, specifically speaking, as the first two entries are nullified itself, hence the debentures which were provided as collateral security won't be a part of this balance sheet, because both of those debentures and the debenture suspend accounts has been cancelled automatically as the loan has been repaid. Hence we won't mention in this balance sheet. We'll just mention the issue of debentures for open subscription which was done. So the bank account and debenture capital related to that, and calls in arrears will be related to that itself. So let's start with the bank account first. So the bank account total comes to 9,95,000. Let's go on to the 7% debenture capital. So the 7% debenture capital was 10 lakh, out of which we'll subtract the calls in arrears, which is 5,000 here. So the total has been mentioned. Now we'll go ahead and tally. That means liability side is also equivalent to 9,95,000, and so is the asset side. So the balance sheet total has been mentioned. Case 1 has been closed. Let's go on to the case 2 details now. Now, this case 2 details refers to Poxy Limited, who had debentures worth rupees 45 lakhs in advance, or rather as earlier balance, the balance was carried forward of debentures of 45 lakhs. So that will be reflecting in the balance sheet. However, right now when we have to discuss about certain details, we'll mention certain details of the loan that was procured for 4 lakh rupees by issuing debentures worth rupees 6 lakh. So let's pass the entry for that. The entry remains the same, that is debenture suspense account debit to 10% debenture account, which has been mentioned as 6 lakh rupees, or rather the issue of collateral security which has been done is for 6 lakh rupees, so we'll mention that itself. So the first narration has been mentioned here. The next one will go regarding the issue which has been done for normal subscription. So let's start with the receipt of application money. We haven't passed the crossed entry here. The reason being, or the reverse entry here, the reason being, as we have mentioned, that this amount hasn't been repaid in this year itself. So we have taken the loan, hence this entry has been passed. Let's move on to the receipt of application money for the normal subscription. Now, in the normal subscription, they issued 5,000 debentures, but they have received the application for total of 7,000 debentures, which were completely allotted as per pro rata. So the receipt will be for 7,000 applications multiplied by 40, because application is 40, final call is 40, and so is the allotment, which is 40 rupees, equally divided. Let's start with the application money receipt entry. So total of 2,80,000 has been the receipt which has been mentioned here. Let's mention the narration. Now, whatever receipt we have mentioned, it includes certain part of share allotment as well. The reason being 5,000 was the issue that could have been done, or rather allotment that could have been done, but we have allotted 2,000 additional on pro rata basis. So 2,000 debenture holders have already given their application money, which can be adjusted in allotment. So let's mention that transfer entry here, which will be an adjustment allotment entry as well. So 2,80,000 is the total amount that we have received here, out of which certain amount that can be transferred only to debenture capital account will be 5,000 multiplied by 40. Rest difference will be moved to allotment adjustment account. So the adjustment allotment, or rather allotment adjustment account, will have certain of 80,000. 2 lakh is the only capital that can be transferred to 10% debenture account. Let's mention the narration, post which we'll go ahead and mention the entry for allotment due. Now, the next entry that we are passing here is allotment due, as these shares or these debentures were issued on premium, will incorporate the premium as well here. Now, the total money that we received on allotment is 40 rupees, but it includes 20 rupees of premium, 20 rupees of capital. So we'll divide that equally and we'll mention the number of allotment that can be done. Here, the calculation will be only for 5,000 debentures. Now that the allotment entry has been mentioned, it's time to go ahead and figure out the next entry, that is receipt entry here. Now the next entry that we're talking about is receipt of allotment money. When it comes to receipt of allotment money, we have to make two adjustments. First, the adjustment amount that we already have of 80,000, that has to be mentioned, and the call scenarios for 500 debentures which has been mentioned in the question who defaulted on allotment and final call. So let's mention the entry according to that. Now, the amount that we're expecting here is referred to 2 lakh rupees. Now, call scenarios will be 500 debentures multiplied by 40 rupees. Adjustment allotment will be a total of 80,000. That means 1 lakh we are not going to receive. So out of 2 lakh, if 1 lakh is gone, whatever we have received here is 1 lakh in our bank. Now, the next two entries will refer to final call due and final call receipt. So let's pass both of these entries. In final call receipt, there will be call scenarios again for 500 debentures. So it will be a similar kind of entry that we're going to pass. So the due entry has been passed, which is debenture final call account debit to 10% debenture. Amount is 2 lakh because 5,000 debentures multiplied by 40. Hence, the total amount comes to 2 lakh rupees. Now it's time to mention the receipt entry here, which will be the last entry. So in total, we must have received somewhere around 1,80,000 because 20,000 is the calls in arrears. So let's mention the narration, post which will go on to the preparation of balance sheet here. Now we'll start with the preparation of balance sheet. Now the format has been prepared. We have to go ahead and mention the details of the bank account first. So the first amount that we have mentioned here is bank account, which is total of 9,60,000. 5,60,000 is the total amount that we have received as per debenture applications. Another 4 lakh refers to the loan amount that we have procured. So we have mentioned both of them together. Now it's time to mention the debenture capital as well. which will have certain calls in arrears, and it will be together of all the debentures that we have issued as collateral security as well as this specific part. Let's mention that. So 10% debenture capital is 5 lakh, out of which calls in arrears will be subtracted first. So 4,60,000 is the debenture capital, which is only from issue. We have to add another amount that we have issued, that is 6 lakh rupees of debentures here. So this amount has been mentioned. Now it's time to mention the security premium as well. So security premium of 1 lakh has been mentioned here. So what we have mentioned here is the debentures that were issued and the bank loan that was procured. So we need to mention few more details as well. Now, the next thing that we'll be mentioning on the liability side is a long-term borrowing. 4 lakh rupees, and the debentures that were issued as collateral security will be mentioned on the non-current asset, which is 6 lakh rupees on the asset side. Now it's time to tally both the balance sheets or both the sides of the balance sheet basically. So the asset side comes to 15,60,000. Let's figure out what is the liability side. So the liability side is 15,60,000, which has been mentioned. And here we complete the case 2 details. Now we'll move on to the case 3 part. Now the first entry that will be passed in case 3 refers to receipt of application money. So let's start with that. Here the issue was happened, or rather issue happened at discount, because 100 rupees debentures was given at 95 rupees. Application money has been mentioned, and we also have the details of the applications that we have received. So let's start with the first entry. So bank account debit to debenture application has been mentioned. 24,000 is the amount that we had received, or rather subscription, because the issue was for 25,000. So there is under subscription first of all, and there is discount as well. So the amount that we have mentioned, that is 7,20,000, has been clarified there. This amount has to be transferred to the debenture capital. So let's move it there now. So the entry for transfer of application money to allotment, or rather to debenture capital 6%, has been moved out. Next will be the part of allotment due. Here discount will be taken into consideration. So the entry that we have passed here for allotment due is allotment account debit, discount account debit to 6% debenture. We'll mention the amount according to that. Now on allotment they're taking 40 rupees, but ideally the capital will be for 45, because 5 rupees is the discount here. Now the allotment has been mentioned, discount has been mentioned. It's time to mention the receipt entry. While mentioning the receipt entry, you have to take care that Mr. B, who had 800 debentures, failed on allotment and final, and Mr. A, who had certain debentures, failed on the final call money. So we have to mention both these things here. So let's start with the received money here. Now 9,60,000 is the expected amount. 800 debentures didn't pay up the allotment money, so we'll mention that accordingly. That means out of 9,60,000, we didn't receive 32,000, so that much will be subtracted, whatever is left in our bank account. Now once this entry is passed, we have to go and pass the entry for final call due and final call receipt. Now again, in final call receipt we have calls in arrears, but that will be for 800 debentures plus 700 debentures again. So total of 1,500 debentures didn't pay the final call money. Let's mention that. Now the final call amount due is 6 lakh rupees, 24,000 into 25. While making certain calculations, make sure that you don't take the issue if it is at under subscription, because whatever we have received, only that much will be taken, unless until the question states the clause that whatever balance is there between issue and the subscription received will be balanced out by them. That means underwriter concept. If that is not there, make sure whatever you have received as subscription will be only taken into consideration for calculations. Now it's time to mention the receipt entry for final call. So 37,500 is the calls in arrears. Whatever you have received, you have mentioned in the bank account. Now, after this entry, we'll pass the last entry, which refers to debenture suspense account for the loan that has been procured here. So total of 11 lakh debentures were issued for a loan that had to be procured for 9 lakh rupees. So that entry has been mentioned. Now we have completed all the entries. So it's time to move to the balance sheet preparation. Let's start with that. So the first thing that we'll be mentioning here is the debenture suspense account details, because that is quite easy to mention. So we'll mention the number of debentures issued, that is 11 lakh on the debit side, or rather on the liability side here, and 9 lakhs of loan procured on the asset side, and simultaneously it will have dual effects here. So let's mention that. So on the liability side, we have mentioned 6% debenture and the total of long-term loan or long-term borrowing, which is 9 lakh rupees, which has been mentioned. Now on the asset side, this 9 lakh rupees will be mentioned in the bank account, and the 11 lakh will be mentioned as non-current assets. Now that both these details have been mentioned, it's time to mention the bank account from the journal entries for open subscription. So the total of bank account is 22 lakh 10,500, which has been mentioned. Simultaneously, we have to mention the 6% debentures capital for open subscription after reducing the calls in arrears. But before that, let's mention the discount on the asset side as miscellaneous expenditure. So 24 lakh is the amount of debentures here, or rather certain things that we can say that it is a part of debenture capital, out of which we'll subtract the total amount that is referred to calls in arrears. So the total debenture capital that we have here is 23 lakh 30,500 after subtracting the calls in arrears, which is 67,500. Now we have mentioned all the details here. Let's go on to the tally part of the balance sheet. So in case 3 balance sheet, both the assets and liabilities side showed a balance of 43 lakh 30,500, which is the final tally of this balance sheet. Now with this, we have completed the case 3 details here. Let's move on to the last case, which refers to the case 4 details. Let's start with the journal entries of that. Now, again in the case 4, Mrs. ABC Limited issued certain debentures for open subscription. So let's pass the entry for receipt of that application money. Now, here the issue was for 4,000 debentures of rupees 100 each. All the shares were duly subscribed and paid for, hence there is no calls in arrears. So we'll quickly mention all the entries which are related to application due and application transfer to debenture capital. 4,000 multiplied by 40 rupees is the application, 20 rupees the allotment, and the final call is 40 rupees. So we have easy calculations here. Now, 1,60,000 is the amount that we have received, so that will be completely transferred to 11% debenture account. The next two entries will be allotment due and allotment receipt entry. So total of allotment due here is 80,000, debenture account debit or debenture allotment account debit to 11% debenture account. Now the receipt entry will be bank account debit to debenture allotment 80,000 completely, as there are no calls in arrears here. Now, after this, the time comes to mention the applications, or rather entry for final call. Again, final call due and final call receipt, 40 rupees on per applications. Again, the thing that we have passed in application, 1,60,000 is the amount that will be due and will be received here. Now, the next entry refers to asset being purchased here for 20 lakh rupees, for which payment has been made in 5 lakh cash and rest 15 lakh is the loan amount. So let's mention that. So the entry that has been mentioned is asset account debit 20 lakh rupees, to bank account 5 lakh rupees, which is the payment, and to long term borrowing, which is 15 lakh rupees. The next item will be the issue of debentures for securing this loan, that is 20 lakh rupees of debenture suspense account to 11% debenture account. Now that all the journal entries are completed related to this case, which is a very simple one, let's move to the preparation of balance sheet, which will be a little tricky for you to understand. So better pay attention on this part. So case 4 balance sheet has been mentioned, format has been mentioned. The first thing that we'll be doing is we will be mentioning the procurement of asset and the debenture suspense and the loans issued against it, so that that part is completed here. So asset that we have procured is worth rupees 20 lakh, which has been mentioned. On that basis, we have issued a collateral security. That means we have taken a loan of 15 lakh. So let's mention that both on the liability side, which is 15 lakh rupees as loan, and that much of amount will be added to the bank account, but that will be the last total. So we are not completing the bank account in whole here. Now, loan account will be mentioned here. That is long-term borrowing, 15 lakh rupees. Now, to secure this loan, 11% debentures of 20 lakh rupees was issued. So that will be the next entry or next assignment that will be posted here. Now, with this, that phase of the entry, or rather that phase of the sum, has been completely cleared. Let's move to the bank account details now of the open subscription entries. So the total of bank account details that we have here is 15 lakh rupees minus the total of subtractions that we have. Oh, basically, if you have to see, the total capital that you must have received when it comes to preparation of debenture capital will be a total of 4 lakh rupees, out of which 5 lakh is the payment that you have made. So your bank account was in negative 1 lakh, out of which you have taken a loan of 15 lakh rupees. That means the balance that you will have in your bank account will be for 14 lakh rupees. So let's mention that. Now, after this, we'll mention the debenture capital amount, and if at all there are any other changes, we'll mention that. So let's mention that debenture capital. So 4,011% debenture, 4 lakh rupees has been mentioned. Now the last part that we have to mention here is the non-current assets. That means whatever amount we have passed out as loan, that non-current asset will be mentioned here. Now, when it comes to tallying the balance sheet here, we won't be tallying the balance sheet. The reason, because there is an asset procurement which has been done, and that is increasing the side of the asset. Hence, there won't be a complete tally which will be done, as there are incomplete informations provided in the question. Hence, we'll leave the balance sheet as it is. So these are the 4 case studies that we had to do when it comes to issue of debentures as collateral security. I hope this video has given you a lot of variety in terms of the sums that we could solve in one illustration itself. So thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned with Ekeeda and keep subscribing to Ekeeda.